Hello, welcome to my house and welcome to my channel. I'm Laura Cepeda and today I'm going to give you all my secrets and tips that will be very useful for your coming projects. I will give you 5 different techniques that you will use when you wind off your projects. Well, before we start, don't forget to subscribe. Remember that if you want to buy and use the same materials that I use in all my videos, you can visit my online store www.lauracepeda.es. Well, look, either if you have this kind of project with your hook with a fine material, or either you have a project that you made with your needles, or a project made with this kind of yarn, this technique will be the same, okay? I will give you all my secrets and all my tips, and either if you make your project with your hook or with your needles, these tips are perfect for both techniques, okay? So the first one will be using our hook. The first secret is that you should leave always at the end a long thread so you can hide it, and with this you will make sure that your projects won't undo, okay, and that your projects will last forever. So the first technique is that you hide your thread through your project using your hook. So after you pass it through, you can cut it. As you see also here in this other project, I leave a long thread because if you cut it and you leave it short, it will be difficult to hide it and it will be easier for your project to mess. So remember, the first tip is that we are going to hide the thread through all your project and we are going to leave it long, okay? So we can make this. Also, it's important that if we have the thread in this color, we should hide it in the place and in the part of the same color so it will be easier to blend. Because if we hide it in this color, in a different color or a more light color, it will be easier that we see it, okay, and it won't look very good, right? So we will try to hide it in the same zone, in the same part of the same color of the thread. And also try to hide more the thread through all your project until you have left a short thread, okay? Because when we wash it or when we use it, it will be more difficult that the thread and the other project will mess, okay? That the thread will come out. So with this you will make sure that your project will last forever. And you will see that binding off your projects correctly will make the difference, and your projects will always look good, and your projects will always be beautiful, okay, and they will last forever. So this was the first technique that you need to know, okay? Now I'm going to teach you the second technique. Also, this technique is one of my favorites. I have teach you these techniques are in my previous videos. Also, I think that it's one of the easiest. So we will need an embroidery needle. So we will try to look at more thin embroidery needle, more or less like this one, with a big head and with the tip a little bit round, so we can work and we can work better. Like this one, it's perfect. If you have some an embroidery needle like this one, it's perfect for this technique, okay? Also, the tip doesn't need to be that with triangle shape, a little bit round. So we are going to pass it through the yarn like this, through the embroidery needle. Okay, remember, also using the same thread, and we will follow the same. If we have this thread in this color, well, we will try to pass it through the same color, not in the green part, okay? We will try to hide it in the yellow part so it can blend it better, and you will see with this you won't tell where your thread is. So we will pass it through like this through the stitch. Okay, very careful, As I told you, it's better if the tip is round, so it won't damage the yarn. And also the same, okay? If you hide the thread in more part of your project, it will be more difficult that your project undo, okay? So I suggest that hide it as long as you can, so it will last more, okay? So like this is how we are going to hide it. Remember that this is the second technique that I use almost in all my projects, okay? And also it's very easy. I think it's one of the easiest, so this is one of my favorites. So you will see, if you watch my previous videos, you will see that I always try to use this technique, okay? But well, now at the end, you are just going to hide the thread that you have left, and it looks like this. You see, as you see, you can almost tell where is your thread. So that's the most important thing, that this technique and that you have the thread that almost looks invisible. So once you finished, you are just going to cut it right where you finished, okay, here. And if you see, also if we turn around, you won't tell and you won't see where is the thread. If you try to look where is the thread, you won't find it, okay? This way it's invisible and this way it's perfect. Well, so far we have learned two techniques, one with the embroidery needle and the first one with the hook. Okay, so the third technique, we will use a needle, like this one, an embroidery needle thinner, and the thread, the one that we use to sew, okay? So we will try to look at thread of the same color, almost of the same color of your yarn. So, well, you know that the main purpose and the main idea is that you won't tell where you finished your project, okay? So please try to look for a thread that looks almost the same. In this case, well, I just want to make the sample, and well, so you will have your thread and you will try to make a knot. I will try to make a knot here, right here, and use my needle and my thread, and then I will sew over the yarn, okay? But in this case I think that my thread is not longer enough so I can make the knot. So I will look for another thread to see if I can teach you that help us to make the sample. So look at this. So we have this part, okay? So we have this thread left. So we will hide it a little bit. Remember, it's very important that we have a long thread. I know that this might be a wasting for you, but I'm sure that with this, your project will last forever, okay? Imagine how much time and how much work you have done so far, that at the end you lost the stitch and the shape of your project. So it's very important. That's why I always ask you to leave a long thread. So well, once we made the knot, a simple knot, we are going to use our needle and the thread of the same color, okay? Remember that this is an example. I couldn't find the same color. So if you do, you are just going to sew in this part like this. This technique is very useful when you are making something for babies, okay? This will give it a very fancy and detailed touch. So my grandma used to use this technique a lot, especially when she was making something for babies, okay? So with this also you won't damage a lot your project. And I think that also this technique is one of the most useful and use technique, okay, in all over the world. So once we make some stitches there, we will cut the left threads, and with technique, I'm sure that your project will last forever and ever. Okay, so this was the third technique. So this is the fourth technique. In this case, when you have a project like this one that you made with polyester and that the threads are thinner and so fine and so difficult to hide, and if you use something you may damage, well, you can use highlighter to hide all the threads, okay? You just need to be very careful to not burn and to not place the lighter so close to your project, okay? Only a little bit. You will pull the thread like this and you will use your lighter faster, okay? Try not to leave the lighter directly too much time there, so it may burn, okay? So this is the third technique, one of the fastest and one of the simplest, right? So well, now let's continue with the fifth way. Well, this is the fifth technique. This technique is more commonly used when you have your threads in the corner of your project. Okay, so also we are going to use our hook and we are going to use an extra thread. Okay, and we are going to make an stitch, a simple stitch to hide it while we make the stitch. So look at this. So we have the extra thread and we are going to make this single crochet, one of the simplest stitch, and while we make this stitch we are going to hide it. As you see how I'm placing the thread, I'm laying it the project and I'm making the stitch over it. You see, this technique is also commonly used when you change the color of your thread so often that you need to hide so many threads that this technique is the easiest. For example, if you have a project where you change color each row, well, and at the end you will have so many threads to hide and so many threads to bind off, right? So you can use this technique making an extra stitch over all the loosened threads, and like this you will hide them, and with this I'm sure that it will have a better edge, a perfect edge, and that your project won't undo and won't damage. So this technique is very useful and very common too. So what do you think? This is the fifth technique, this is the fifth way that you can hide all your threads that will look very beautiful. Look how it looks in the back. It looks perfect, right? So I hope that you use this technique in your common projects. Okay, I hope that this technique is very useful for you. Well, so what do you think? I hope that these techniques are very useful for you. Please try to use them in your common projects. I'm sure that with this, your projects will last forever and they will look amazing anytime, okay? It's very important that you know these important tips if you are learning how to crochet or if you're learning how to use your needles. Well, these techniques are very important for both techniques. But well, please, if you like this video, give me a like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to follow me in all my social media. Thank you so much and see you in the coming videos. Bye!